Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today we are doing a focused analysis, really digging into the investment case for Rani Therapeutics. It's a clinical stage biotech, definitely getting some attention. And we're zeroing in on, well, the main question for you. Is this stock a good time to buy right now? Before we dive in, if you appreciate this kind of analysis, please do take a second to subscribe, like this discussion, maybe leave a comment. It genuinely helps us bring more of these talks to you. And yeah, definitely if there's a specific company you want us to tackle, just drop it in the comments below. We're always looking for the next set of source materials to get into.
And we certainly have a stack for Rani today. We've pulled together a whole lot of analysis looking at the fundamentals, the technicals, market sentiment, and what might be driving this thing, short-term and long-term. It's a fascinating one because it's this mix of really cutting-edge science and, let's be honest, pretty high-risk investing.
Yeah, Rani being clinical stage, focused purely on drug delivery. I mean, its value is almost entirely based on the promise of its tech, right?
Exactly right. So our mission today is really to boil down the key facts, the insights you need to sort of navigate this. It's a very volatile investment. We need to get a clear picture of the potential upside. I mean, the growth could be huge if it works, but also weigh that against the intense risks that just come with a pre-commercial speculative stock like this.
Okay, let's unpack that core idea then. We have to start with what makes Rani different. What's unique here? Because that's the whole basis for anyone being bullish. What problem are they actually solving?
Well, the big problem is adherence and just getting certain drugs into the body effectively. We're talking about complex, large molecule drugs, biologics, peptides, proteins. Usually these need an injection. Think diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, osteoporosis, conditions where patients might need shots daily, weekly. It's painful, it's inconvenient, expensive sometimes, and people often just don't stick with it.
Right. And so their solution, the Rana pill, that's the alternative they're pitching. Why do analysts see this as such a strong competitive edge?
Well, the Rani capsule it's potentially transformative. The sources call it a transformative oral biologics delivery platform. It's designed pretty cleverly. It survives the stomach, gets to the small intestine, then it sort of automatically deploys this tiny, apparently pain-free microneedle system, delivers the drug right into the intestinal wall, good absorption there, and importantly, the whole little mechanism just dissolves harmlessly afterwards.
Okay, so instead of a needle you inject yourself, you take a pill, and it basically does the injection internally, painlessly. That sounds like a massive shift for patients, especially those needing regular doses.
Oh, absolutely. A game changer for quality of life. And the competitive moat, it isn't just convenience. It's about potentially shifting the entire standard of care. If you can take a big blockbuster injectable drug and make it an oral pill,
Right.
well, you could grab huge market share, maybe lower admin costs, and definitely improve compliance. That's the thinking.
That opens up a massive potential market then, pretty much any drug that currently needs a shot. So where are they actually at in making this real? What's the pipeline look like?
The pipeline is moving, which is key. Their lead candidate, RT102, that's delivering a parathyroid hormone, typically for osteoporosis, it's already cleared phase I trials successfully. And importantly, they're not just sticking to that one drug type, they're expanding the platform. The sources mentioned they're looking at delivering antibodies and even things like oligonucleotides.
Oligonucleotides. Okay, can you just clarify that? Why is delivering those orally a big deal?
Sure. Oligonucleotides are basically cutting-edge therapies, things like gene-silencing drugs. They're really difficult to deliver effectively, especially orally, getting them into the bloodstream intact. So if Ranapil can handle those, it really shows the power and the versatility of the platform itself. It suggests it could work for a whole range of complex molecules.
Okay, that makes sense. So the science is promising. Let's pivot to the financials, the reality on the ground. Being clinical stage, the numbers tell a familiar story, I suppose. Revenue is, well, modest, about $1.2 million, trailing 12 months.
Yeah, tiny revenue. Indicates they're just starting, probably early licensing fees, maybe some research payments. But that $1.2 million isn't the number people focus on, it's the burn rate. They reported a net loss, TTM, of about $29.7 million. That works out to an EPS, earnings per share, of negative $0.90.
Almost a $30 million loss. In most sectors, that'd be a huge red flag, but this is biotech, right? This is kind of expected.
Exactly. It's totally customary for firms at this stage. They're essentially giant R&D projects.
Hmm.
The sources do note this loss is sort of offset by, quote, solid capital raising and operational discipline. So the real question isn't the loss itself, it's whether they have enough cash to sustain that burn rate.
Fair point. And they've managed to keep a market cap around $204.8 million. So how secure are they, financially speaking, given those ongoing costs?
Actually, much more secure now than they were, say, a year ago. They did a pretty smart private placement recently. That really helped. It extended their cash runway significantly, apparently out into 2028. That takes a lot of the immediate pressure off, and needing to raise cash again quickly and potentially diluting shareholders, gives them breathing room for development.
And that stability seems to be reflected in what the analysts are saying, the market confidence. I mean, the consensus rating from the 6 analysts covering them is a strong buy. That's pretty bullish for a company with no commercial product yet.
It really is. It says a lot about how much weight analysts are putting on the potential of the Rani technology. They're looking way down the road. Their average 12-month price target is, well, it's aggressive, $8.67. Compared to where the stock is now, that's implying something like a 200% plus potential upside.
Wow.
Yeah. So that forecast really confirms, the market's valuing the disruption potential, not the current financials.
Okay, so that foundation, the potentially disruptive tech, the secured cash that sets the stage for what happened recently, the big price moves. Let's talk about those transformative drivers back in August 2025.
Yeah, August was huge for them. Stabilizing the balance sheet really enabled the headline event,
Hmm.
that massive partnership with Chugai Pharmaceutical,
Yep.
potentially worth up to $1.09 billion.
Over $1 billion. That's like 5 times their current market cap. Why was that specific deal such a big validator?
Well, multiple reasons. Chugai is a major global pharmaceutical company, especially strong in biologics. So them signing on signals huge credibility. It suggests a big established player believes not just in the science, but also that the Ranapil platform can be scaled up, manufactured reliably. And while the sources don't detail the upfront cash, the sheer size of the potential milestone payments shows deep institutional belief that Ranapil can actually deliver complex drugs effectively.
And that news just lit a fire under the stock price, didn't it? Like a 280% surge almost overnight.
Incredible rally, yeah. And it happened alongside that financial strengthening they closed, that oversubscribed $60.3 million private placement in the same month. So you had validation through the partnership and a stronger balance sheet. That's like a textbook setup for potentially more growth.
Looking at the charts, the technicals,
Mhm.
we saw strong moves again more recently, July and October 2025. The recent trading range seems to be between about $2.26 and $3.32.
Correct. Recent momentum indicators are generally bullish. Both short-term and long-term moving averages are giving buy signals according to the analysis.
Right.
And this is a big but. We absolutely have to talk about the risk profile.
Right. The volatility, it's extreme.
Yeah, the stock is explicitly classified as very high risk. You have to expect massive swings. I mean, days with 10% moves up or down seem pretty common. It's incredibly sensitive to any news, even rumors, development updates. So that high potential reward comes packaged with serious price risk. That recent high around $3.32 is definitely a level to watch now. They need to break through that convincingly.
So what are the immediate triggers, the things we should be watching for that could cause the next big swing, either way?
Okay, the most concrete date is the upcoming earnings report. That's scheduled for November 13th, 2025. Market chatter suggests people are hoping management might give updates on the partnerships, maybe cash burn rates during that call. Beyond earnings, everyone's watching for clinical or regulatory news. Updates on RT-102 Phase 2, maybe, or possibly announcements of new partnerships, which the market seems to be speculating about quite actively.
Okay, let's shift to sentiment and what the insiders are doing. Market psychology seems pretty positive overall. Retail investors, social media, lots of buzz.
Yeah, generally positive sentiment, definitely driven by excitement about the innovation itself and that huge upside potential we talked about. And that buzz gets amplified by, well, unconfirmed market chatter. There are definitely rumors floating around online forums about more partnerships coming, maybe FDA milestones. Now, you should treat rumors very carefully, obviously, but they absolutely fuel the speculative side of things, which adds to that volatility.
Right. But here's the really interesting part, maybe even contradictory. Strong analysts, big partnership, positive buzz. Yet the insider trading data shows some significant selling right after that price surge. What's going on there?
This is a really critical point. It requires a closer look. Despite that massive rally, despite the Chugai validation, yes, the data shows significant open market selling by insiders. Specifically, one major holder, Cone Investments Limited Partnership South, they sold off about $15.7 million worth of stock in September. Then another major shareholder sold about $4.6 million in October.
So why are the people presumably closest to the company, the ones with the most information, taking significant money off the table right when external analysts are getting more bullish?
That's the contradiction, isn't it? And it's central to the short-term debate. Analysts actually raise price targets, $1 to $8.50, despite those big insider sales.
So how do we interpret this? Well, one view, the simplest, is just profit-taking. You get a 200% plus run-up in a stock that doesn't have revenue yet. It's perfectly rational for early investors to lock in some gains. Makes sense. But could it signal something more strategic, something maybe less optimistic?
That's the question you have to ask, yes. Could these sales signal maybe a shift in the long-term ownership structure? Or perhaps, do insiders feel the current price, even with the good news, has gotten a bit ahead of itself in the near term? Even with the cash runway now extended to 2028, maybe their internal view on future cash needs or strategic direction differs slightly from that external analyst optimism.
Yeah.
It definitely raises questions.
Okay. Before we wrap up with the final verdict, let's just quickly recap the main risks. It's biotech, after all. There are inherent structural risks here.
Absolutely. Standard sector risks apply. Regulatory delays are always possible. Clinical trial setbacks, a phase 2 trial could fail or get delayed, that happens. And of course, those ongoing operating losses. They'll continue to burn cash on R&D. Management seems tactically adept at financing and partnerships so far, but those biological and regulatory hurdles, they're just part of the game in biotech. Unavoidable.
Okay, so pulling it all together, after weighing the disruptive tech, the big validation from Chugai, but also that puzzling insider selling, what's the final investment thesis from the sources we looked at?
Well, the sources, really leaning on the potential of that Rani technology, land on an overall bullish rating. They give it an 8 out of 10. The rationale is basically the tech is potentially game-changing, the analyst forecasts are accelerating post-Chugai deal, and there are strong potential short-term catalysts coming up in the next few months.
And for investors who can stomach that high volatility, what's the suggested approach? Is this more of a short-term trade on news, or is the potential big enough for long-term accumulation?
The analysis suggests it could be both, actually. It's seen as attractive for short-term catalyst trading, playing the run-up to news events maybe the next 3 months around earnings and potential partnership updates, but also potentially compelling for long-term accumulation, purely based on that possibility of structurally disrupting a huge chunk of the pharma market. If Rani really works broadly, the long-term upside is enormous. So maybe there's a final thought for you to chew on. You've got these high analyst price targets, you've got the cash secured, incredible innovation. But then you have these major shareholders selling significant chunks. What does that pattern really tell you about the near-term valuation versus the long-term vision? Is it just smart money taking profits after a great run? Or does it hint at something else coming down the line, maybe a shift in who the big owners will be? Definitely keep tracking the official filings for cash burn updates and watch for those institutional 13F filings early next year. Those will show if big funds stepped in to buy what the insider sold.
That's a great point to end on, a really thorough breakdown of a complex and certainly captivating company. Thanks for tuning in for this focused discussion on Rani Therapeutics.